Hi, this is Phil Batista, senior member of the IEEE. My guest today is Kathleen Kramer. Welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. Kathleen is a professor at the University of San Diego and also very heavily involved in both the Rising Stars and the IEEE. So as a professor, Kathleen, I'd like you to talk about this myth that as a student, especially a new student maybe of yours, in a semester that hasn't started yet, the fear of students to ask whether or not they could take time off the first couple days of the semester and attend a conference like the Rising Stars. So I think there's a big fear of students not to ask because they're afraid to give the impression that they're not a studious person or that they're not interested. Can you tell us a little bit about that and your viewpoint on that with regard to the Rising Stars conference?
Well, so I think more and more faculty and programs in general, engineering, computing programs in IEEE's fields of interest, I think we're all recognizing the importance of career development in our students. And, one interesting fact at my own institution, they have established, and they're not the first, I think it's I mean, my hat's off to those people developing the program, but I think that this is, at the better institutions, this has been sweeping the nation to have a recognition of the need for career development in the students. So what we have, and I'm sure others also have, is we have a program that we've named Connect, and students have to go through as a required co-curricular element of their degree. They need to attend and participate in various experiences that help them develop career-wise. And events such as Rising Stars or other events like treks out to potential employers, participation in conferences like SHIP or Society of Women Engineers or the NSBE, all of those, including Rising Stars, count as a particularly important experience that you should have before you graduate. And so in some cases, it's not only recommended, it's actually required. That being said, I do not want to be quoted as telling students to go ahead and miss the first day of class. I think definitely it's, if that happens to be an unfortunate coincidence on the dates, it is important not to be a no-show on the first day of class, particularly at some institutions where they're looking for your spot. So I think that it depends on your situation, and it's definitely worthwhile to reach out and connect, as it were, with the faculty member or your advisor. There's all kinds of options that people do have. And many of the students are not in class at this time. So January can be a good time for some students.
Well, and that makes perfect sense. You know, the old adage, the only dumb question is a question that's not asked, right? So I think it's important, as you mentioned, not to just assume you can or can't be excused, but to reach out to your faculty members and your teachers and professors and ask, what their position is on this, and whether or not they would allow or encourage. So it sounds like this type of activity is requisite in some cases. Is that correct? Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, that's exactly my point, is that in more modern programs, that this is more and more a trend, that you want to not just say it's a good thing to do, but sometimes people need more of a nudge than that to encourage it. I could also point out that, there were early on efforts at versions of Rising Stars, and what really translated it into something that's going to happen and something that's working was the connection to CES. And that connection to CES worked not just because, oh, this is a good idea, but because there were already student branches that had it as an annual event to do that trek to CES at that time of year.
Well, that's a great point. And as a matter of fact, Rising Stars is positioned specifically to precede CES for that very reason, in addition to the fact that there are a number of opportunities that exist for IEEE members who attend the conference to volunteer at the IEEE booth at CES. Number one, to be able to attend the conference. Number two, to attend it for free. So it's a great way to give back, great way to learn, great way to network. So those are all great points. Thank you very much, Kathleen. And you'll be presenting at the Rising Stars Conference this year, is that correct?
I believe so, yes. I've been fortunate to be asked in the past. So at last year's, I was interviewing one of the industry speakers had thank you, Sunita, requested me. And I believe the year before that, I did the industry panel of the next big thing. And so we're always, there's a lot of opportunities to connect and be involved.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for your continuation in volunteering and presenting. We always love to have you. And thank you for your words of wisdom about whether or not you should ask your professors or your faculty what their position is for your potential attendance at the Rising Stars and maybe subsequently CES. Thank you, Kathleen. We'll look forward to seeing you in January.
Thanks very much, Phil. Look forward to seeing you too.